Hi everybody, Boker Tov. Rabbi Avi here from Valley Shalom. Good morning. Almost Shabbat Shalom. It's good to be together here in Coffee and Kavanah on this Friday morning. Thank you to those who are joining us this morning. Hi Doug. Shabbat Shalom, Doug. Shabbat Shalom. Good to see you. Virtually, of course, but still good to see you. So I don't know about you, but my home has been filled with what I'm calling quarantine moments. Whether it's due to anxiety, frustration, the challenges of being secluded to our homes, all of us in our own way are having these moments of whether it's like the frustration of a kid who's asking for their 20th snack in the last 5 minutes, or my kids who, God bless them, are dealing with these challenges in their own way. For example, one of my children, I won't name them just to not embarrass them, had a meltdown the other night over the type of pasta that I made. Now, this particular child is very particular about what he or she eats. Again, I don't want to say which child it was, but this was a first for me. I had made rigatoni. Apparently, she wanted penne. But that is, I think, I'm just chalking that up to a quarantine moment. That is, she's having all these emotions and feelings, and she's not quite sure how to deal with them, and they're coming out in various ways. And that's true, I think, for all of us in various moments. And so, this week's Torah portion couldn't have come at a better time. The latter portion of this week, it's a double portion. Acharei Mot Kedoshim, specifically Kedoshim. The beginning of Kedoshim states, Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Be holy, for I, God, am holy. And so the first question we might ask is, well, what does it mean? What does it mean to be holy? And so, in order to answer the question, we might want to look at the inverse of holy, or the opposite. So the opposite, according to our tradition, what we know is mundane, right? Or in Hebrew, we say chol. So what is chol? The mundane, the everyday, the usual, the ordinary. And so then the holy then must be, if the opposite of holy is ordinary, usual, then the opposite of mundane, of ordinary, must be special. So the question we might ask ourselves is, okay, in the ordinary, in the craziness of this situation that we find ourselves that is becoming ordinary, how do we make moments holy? How do we make moments special? How do we transition those moments and change those moments from feeling like they're overwhelming to being able to take a deep breath and maybe change the way that we approach those moments? And so the Torah portion, Kedoshim, offers us, an array of opportunities, an array of mitzvot to think about, but one in particular that I want to focus on, which I believe helps us through these moments, is in verse 18 in Parashat Kedoshim. The end of the verse, actually, which says, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so I'd like to look at that quickly, that verse, in two different ways. The first is, well, how can God command us to love? right? God said, love your neighbor as yourself. How can God command to love? Love is an emotion. No one can command us to love. So the first possible way of understanding this is Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, who says that the command isn't actually commanding a feeling, but it's commanding an action. And so what Rabbi Hirsch continues to say is that the action is to really be at one with our neighbor. That is to rejoice in our neighbor's simchas and our neighbor's successes as if they were our own, and to empathize or sympathize in our neighbor's what's the word I would use? Difficulties. That is, as if they were our own. That is to really empathize with our neighbor in both good times and in bad times. And I think that's a beautiful way to help us through these moments. That is to realize that we're not alone going through this, and that we may be, depending on the moment, I might be having a pretty good day, but you know what? My neighbor or my friend or someone down the street or someone in our community might be having a challenging time. And so how can I reach out to them and to really feel their difficulty? Because I know it, right? So then in those moments of that aren't quite as challenging for myself, to be able to reach out to others, right? That's the first understanding. That's Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch's understanding of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, of really reaching out to others as if, and understanding their plight as if it was our own. And I think that's a beautiful way of showing that we care about each other in these moments, is by really seeing others' pain as if it's our own. Martin Buber says something different. He actually says that it's the command is to really understand each other. That is, understand each other's needs, what we need in these moments. And so in those moments, as I talked about at the beginning, when our children are having meltdowns because of, for example, the wrong pasta that was made for dinner, really trying to understand what they need in that moment. Really trying to understand, is it really that they need a different pasta, or is there something else going on that will help them through that difficult, challenging moment? So that's the first way of looking at that text. The second way, I'd like to flip the text of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha and look at it backwards. Look at the end of, and focus on the end of the pasuk rather than the beginning, V'ahavta. So the end is kamocha, that is, love your neighbor as yourself. So that's assuming that in order to love your neighbor, you have to love yourself, right? Kamocha means love your neighbor as yourself. That's assuming that you actually already love yourself, right? So the question that I ask us, and I ask myself this every day, is how am I taking care of myself? How are we taking care of ourselves? Because in actuality, in truth, the only way that we can v'ahavta l'reacha, the only way we can love our neighbor, is if we are loving ourselves. That is, we have to be able to take care of ourselves in order to take care of others. It's the old saying from the airplane, from being on a flight, right? Before we put on the mask, right, the air mask of a child, we have to secure our own, right? We won't be able to secure their mask without securing our own. So how are we taking care of ourselves in these moments? What are we doing for ourselves? How are we taking care of our bodies? How are we taking care of our neshama, of our soul? What are we doing to feed ourselves in these moments so that we can, A, move through them, and B, then help others move through them as well? And so as we enter Shabbat, these are questions that I ask myself. These are questions that I pose to all of us. How can we take care of ourselves so that we can then reach out and take care of others? And then once we're taking care of ourselves, what's the best way to reach out to each other, to empathize with each other in these moments, and to understand what we each need as we move through this. With that, I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. Hope you have a wonderful, meaningful, restful Shabbat. Thanks to those who tuned in, who joined us. And join us this evening for Kabbalat Shabbat. I believe it's around 5 o'clock. Facebook Live. Should be a nice davening. With that, Shabbat Shalom, and be well. Hope everyone's healthy and safe. And look forward to hopefully seeing everyone soon.